Okay guys, so welcome to another video. In this video we're going to actually start building the React user interface, and before we get started I just want to take a couple of seconds and show you what the user interface should look like in the end, so at least you have some idea of what we're actually building. So this React application won't be super complex. All we want to do is pretty much cover all the functionality that we've been building in the backend portion, and that's mainly authentication using different methods. So the things that our React application needs to cover is we want to allow user to authenticate using both the local authentication, meaning using the email and password, as well as using some third-party services like Google and Facebook. Once that's done, we also want to have some sort of endpoint or like a route that will be like a dashboard, and once user is actually authenticated and he or she goes to that special route, we'll be able to take some secret data from the backend that only authenticated users should see and present it over here. So this is what our homepage will look like in the end. We'll have some text like brand text over here. We'll have this is of course a navbar. We have two links, sign up and sign in, and this like main space over here we'll just put welcome or something like that. You're of course free to be as creative as you'd like. Next, on the sign up route over here we'll have like two main sections of this page. On the left we'll allow user to sign up using the email and password, and on the right we'll allow user to sign up using Facebook or Google. Okay, so this should be pretty self-explanatory. And then if I go to the next picture, which looks exactly as the one before, I just need to rename this to sign in. This is pretty much what the sign in page will look like. So it's pretty much the same. Again, user can sign in if he or she already created a local account over here, or he or she can sign in using Facebook or Google. And then once you actually sign in or sign up, you'll be redirected to this /dashboard route, and over here we can say something like this is user's dashboard and the secret data resource from protected backend endpoint. Well, if you remember and if you've been watching this video series from the start, you know that on the Node.js backend we have some endpoint that serves some secret, and the only way to get to that secret data is in case you're authenticated. So this is exactly what we're going to do here. So on initialize, inside this page, because the user is already authenticated, we'll go to the Node.js backend, grab that secret, and then render it over here. So hopefully now you have a better sense of what we're trying to achieve in these few videos. So let's get started. Okay, so I've opened our project so far, and I'm going to go npm run start dev. This should kick off both the backend server and the frontend server. And we have this browser that will auto open for us, and we'll see welcome to React, and to get started edit this file and so on. Okay, so all of our client things right now are contained in this client folder, and the main pieces really are in this source folder over here. So to get started, I want to delete like a lot of files from here. We're going to keep this register service worker. That is mostly for like the progressive web applications, so we'll just use it. There is no harm in doing that, but we'll get rid of all of these other files. So I'm going to select pretty much all of these except index.js and register service worker, and I'm going to delete these. Okay, and then inside index.js we want to get rid of this index.css because we just delete that one, and app.js as well. And then we're going to leave these three over here, and these currently won't really work, but will make it work really soon. So let me delete this here as well. So we want to create a new folder inside this source folder. We're going to call that one components. and this folder will house all of our components for this application. So to get started, we'll recreate this app.js component that we had previously, and what we want to do is to simply import React from React, and then we want to create this like a simple function component. So we're going to export default. We won't have anything to pass to it right now, and then we just want to return some JSX inside here. So what we want to do is let's create a div, for example, and let's write is this working? Okay, I'm going to put semicolon over here as well. And then I'm going to go back into the index.js file, and I need to import that component that we just created. So I'm going to go import app from, and then we need to go into this components directory, and then we have app. You don't need to specify JS over here. Okay, and then what we want to do is to render that component somewhere. So we're going to use this React DOM over here. So React DOM dot render. We need to pass two arguments. First is the component that we want to render, and the second is like the place where we want to inject it. So we want to render this application component over here. So we're going to write that application component, but like in this tag form. And then what we want to do is to use document and then query selector. And then what we want to do is to target the root ID like this. Now if you're wondering, in this public folder over here we have this index.html file, and if you scroll down you see this div element with the ID of root. So essentially our application is going to be rendered over here. So now this is getting auto restarted, and if I just open this Chrome, we can see is this working now, is being shown on our React application. So that definitely worked. Okay, so next what we want to do is we want to get started on that navbar. So what we want to do is to create a new component over here, and we'll simply call it header.js, for example. And inside of here we want to create a new React component with something that will kind of represent the header or the navbar that will be shown throughout our site. So first of all we need to import React from React as usual, but we also want to create this component to be a class-based component, because later once we add Redux and like that glue with backend, we want to wire up the functionality. When you click on the sign out, you should be signed out. So with that in mind, we'll need to have some method attached to this component, and that is why the class is a good idea for this one. So we'll also need to pull the component from this import statement as well. Next we want to create this class, so we'll say class header extends component like this. And now we have this class to work with. Before I forget, let's also export the default this whole thing over here, so later once we include it we'll get access, like direct access to this class. Okay, so for now we just want to render we would just want to render something on the screen so we can make sure that this is working as intended. So I'm simply going to create a div, for example, and then say like this is navbar, like this. Okay, next we need to go back to this app.js file, and over here we need to include this newly created component. So we'll say something like import header from, and then we need to just like use it like this. And then inside of this div over here we can simply like include it at all times by simply using it like this. Okay, so now we have this header, and then we have whatever content is beneath it. So now if I come back here, we can see that this is a navbar and this text that we had before. Okay, so now what we need to do is we can add the Bootstrap in, and then we can actually make it look a bit more nicer than this. And okay, so to include the Bootstrap, here is the Bootstrap site. So we want to go to download, and then we'll see the Bootstrap CDN. So there are a couple of ways to use Bootstrap. You can use it with npm, like npm install Bootstrap, and require it that way. But honestly, the easiest way is probably still this one, so I'm going to be using this one for this project. So what we need to do is to copy this, and then I'll navigate back to our public and then /index.html file over here. And then what we want to do is we want to find these links for the icon and whatnot, and we want to paste this underneath that. Although this script source tag, we're going to put it in the body, so I'm going to cut that whole line over here, and then I'm going to find this ending body tag and simply paste it over here, like this. And next we want to navigate back to here, and we have a couple of JS files we need to include as well, so I'm going to copy these as well, and I'm going to paste it before this one, because Bootstrap relies on jQuery and whatnot, so I want to load it before we load the bootstrap.js. Now I'm going to save all of this, and if I open our application again, you'll see that the font is slightly different, which means that this definitely worked and we're now using the Bootstrap. Okay, so then I can navigate to this header over here, and we can actually start writing the header HTML, or if we want to be more precise, JSX code. So in this return over here, I'll actually get rid of all of this, and we want to create a new nav tag with the class name of navbar, followed by navbar expand large, followed by navbar dark, and then we want to set the background to be dark as well. Later on we'll assign some custom styles to it, but right now this will work. Then inside of here we'll need to have that brand on the top left, so we can put something like H tag for now, and we'll of course change this once we install React Router DOM. But for now, A tag with the class name of navbar brand, and then we want to say something like code worker API authentication or whatever you want. And then next we want to create a new div tag, and inside of this div tag we'll have a couple of UL tags. So UL class name of navbar nav, and then mr auto, okay, like this. And then for example, let's put a dashboard link over here, so I'm going to put li tag with the class name of nav item this time, and inside here again we'll for now use simply a tags, but later we'll convert those. So class name is nav link, and then the actual text could be dashboard or something like that. So let me quickly check whether this is actually working. Yes, okay, it's definitely working. Okay, so let's continue with it. Underneath this UL we want to have like another UL. So this part over here we have to have something like on the left over here, but we also want those sign up, sign in, log out buttons to be on the right over here. So now we'll tackle those. Okay, so then we need another UL which will be that top right menu. So the class name is going to be navbar nav, and then ml auto, and then inside of here we'll have a couple of li elements. So we'll have li of class name nav item like before, and then inside of here we'll have a tag with the class name of nav link, and we can say sign up, for example. And then I'm going to copy and paste this a couple of times. We want to cover both the sign up, the sign in, and the sign out. Sign up, sign in, and the sign out. And I'm going to save this and let's see what this looks like. Okay, so one thing we're missing is this div element over here needs to have a class as well. So we're going to say class name of collapse and then navbar collapse like this. And if I come back, this should look good right now. Of course, none of these are clickable yet. We're simply using these A tags instead of like using the link, because we still have to install React Router DOM. Okay, so next it's time to actually install the React Router DOM. So I'm going to quit this running process. I'm going to navigate inside of this client directory. Don't forget to do that. Otherwise you'd be installing in the server, which you definitely don't want to do. So cd into client and then npm install -- save React Router DOM like this. And then we need to wait a couple of seconds for this to get installed. But once this is installed, we can actually convert all of those A tags to link tags, as well as start working on the actual routing logic and whatnot. So now that this is done, I'm going to go back and then run the npm run start dev, I think. Yes, okay. So coming back to this header.js file, what we need to do is to actually import the link component. So we're going to go import link from React Router DOM like this, and then we need to find all of these A tags over here and convert them to link tags. So link over here as well as over here, and then we need another like parameter, which is 2, which should specify like where should we actually like redirect the user once someone clicks on this thing, for example. So because this is like the home page, we'll simply say like to redirect to like /, and then let's continue doing the exact same thing over here as well. So for the dashboard, we want to be redirected to say /dashboard, and for the sign up, we want to be redirected to /sign up, and we need here to say link as well. And then let me try to make it a bit quicker. So sign in should go to /sign in, and sign out to /sign out. But actually sign out will be handled over here. So we'll adjust this once we get to that part. But now we want to go to this index.js file again, and we need to actually include this React Router DOM inside here. So what I like to do is I like the things that I import directly from like the modules, like node modules, I want to keep them on top, and the things where I import stuff from like my own files and whatnot, I like to keep them below that. So I'm going to separate these two like this, because these are simply our files and these are from node modules. So up above I'm going to import browser router as well as route from React Router DOM like this. Okay, and then what we want to do is we're rendering this application component, but we want to wrap it with this browser router instead. So I'm going to simply make some space over here, and then I'm going to actually wrap that with browser router that we just imported. And this closing tag I'm going to paste below, and then I'm going to simply indent it like this, and I'll indent this as well. Okay, so now if we jump back to the application, it should still be working, and okay, we don't have any errors. It's simply complaining that we have this route that we didn't yet use, but we'll use it in a second. So over here now, what we want to do is we want to register a couple of routes inside of this app component. So guys, remember, this app component right now is nothing other than this. So we're rendering the header at all times, and then we have some text over here. So ideally we want this text over here to be replaced with whatever main component is of the current route that we're on. So what we want to do is we need to actually not use this app as a self-closing element, but we actually need to like expand it. Sorry, like this. Okay, and then inside of here we need to register all our routes for the entire application. So we're going to use this route element that we just imported, and then we're going to specify a path to where this route should be defined at. So let's start with this like home page. So it should be on a root slash, and then we want to say component equals something over here, okay? And then we need to close it. Now the thing is, we don't have like a home component. We're actually rendering the text here like literally, so we need to create a new component really quickly. Let's call it home.js. We need to again import React from React, and then we need to export default. We'll take no props, and we'll simply return some JSX, and the return JSX will be simply like a div, and then we can say like welcome to our home page, like this. Okay, then we can go back to this index.js file. Below this we'll simply import this newly created home component in the same manner. So import home from component slash home, and then we can simply tack it on over here. So whenever this route gets called, we'll simply call these components, or I should say like display that component. The thing, however, is currently this won't really work. Let me show you. So over here you can see that we still have this is this working, and we're not showing welcome to our homepage. And the reason behind that is we didn't really change our app.js file just yet. So like I said, this needs to be dynamic over here. So we need to catch any props that we send to this app.js component like this, and then inside of here, instead of rendering any like string literal, we're going to actually render whatever is in that props, and then .children like this. And then if I actually go back to this, we can see that welcome to our home page is now shown. So what's going on? This React router DOM is actually sending this home component to the app.js component that we made, and that app.js component is actually receiving it via props, and then we're just saying like render header at all times, but like beneath that render whatever children is like currently should be rendered, more or less. And then if we want to continue with this, we can simply create more components like sign up, sign in, and add more routes over here, which we'll do next. Okay, so let's do that, but I'll be honest, the sign in and sign up components will be made using a Redux form, which will open a whole other can of worms for us, because then we'll need to actually integrate Redux and Axios, Redux tongues and whatnot. So for now I'm going to simply create like placeholders for those components, and then in the next video we're going to tackle them, because this will be like too much for one video, I think. So let's simply define sign up component, and then also let's define sign in component from component slash sign in, and let's also define a dashboard from component slash dashboard, and then we need to create all of those inside of this components folder. So sign up.js, sign in.js, and dashboard.js. Okay, and then let's start with sign in. For now we're going to create all of them as class-based components because I think we'll need like plenty of functionality on all of those. Yes, we'll need, yeah, and even on dashboard we'll also need to have like that, like on initialize we need to pull some data from the backend. So let's definitely go on and create all three of those as class-based components. So import react from react, and we also need to import component as well. Components. And then we need to export default class sign in extends component, and then we'll just for now have render methods in each one of those, and we'll simply return let's say a div with text of this is sign in component. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this because it's going to be pretty much the same over here. I'll just rename this sign in to sign up, and over here as well to sign up. And inside of a dashboard I'm going to yet again paste all of that. I'm going to rename this to dashboard, and then inside of a div I'll say this is dashboard component, like this. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to make use of all of these as different routes. So I'm going to copy this line over here and paste it a couple of times. So for the sign up we're going to have a path of like slash sign up because that's the path where we did use in header, if you remember, over here. So coming back here for the sign in we're going to go slash sign in, and for a dashboard we're going to go slash dashboard. And now let's see if the navbar is actually working. So I'm over here, I'm on the home page. If I refresh, yep, everything is good. If I go to the sign up, you now see that we still have this welcome to our homepage text, and this is a sign up component. So something is a bit weird, but let's go on. If I go to the sign in, we see this. This is a sign in component in the same manner. And if I go to dashboards, yes, it's still the same. So what we need to do is we can fix this by adding an exact keyword to each one of these, which is a part of the new React Router DOM version. So now if I navigate around, you'll see that it's actually behaving as it should. By the way guys, if I'm going through things a bit faster than usual, this is mostly because these few parts, this series, aren't really intended to learn you like React from the scratch, more or less, but they should just like show you how you can actually use Node backend server with React, and like the more interesting part is actually coming with those redux and actions and reducers and all of that. So if you're having trouble following along, that's totally fine, because like I said, these few videos aren't really meant to teach you React from the beginning. I'll be working on like the entire series that will go like in depth about React and everything, and it will be like really long one. So if you have any problems with React, like wait for that one or find some other sources to learn it, and then come back to these videos. So with this done, this is the end of this video. We did quite a bit of work, even though it may not feel like, because we have everything in place and now we can actually move on the more interesting stuff, like I said. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video and that I'll see you in the next videos before we actually finish with this entire series, which was quite a long one. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.